Hi, Lisa. Hope you're doing okay. Was you? I think you might have been on my TikTok a minute ago. Not too sure how many people we're going to get on here. It's obviously quite late, but I just done a hi, Jimmy. Hope you're doing okay. Jimmy Savile, BBC. Hi, hope you're doing okay. Thanks for joining me. Yes, I thought you was, Lisa. I'm just going to go over some of the same stuff. So obviously, don't feel as though you've got to stay here. I've just done a live stream on my TikTok. There wasn't many people on there, but we had a bit of a conversation. I spoke about the evidence in relation to the facial recognition cameras, and I actually think this evidence is really, really important because I don't want anyone to be worried, but it potentially is going to lead us into the beginning of the end in all of this if we're not careful, I suspect, based on what I'm finding. Yesterday, there was an article in relation to facial recognition cameras, and I'm just going to read a bit of that to you. It said privacy campaigners have lost a High Court challenge aimed at limiting the Metropolitan Police's use of live facial recognition technology. Policing Minister Sarah Jones, that I'll come to later, said, "I welcome today's ruling because there can be no true liberty when people live in fear of crime in their communities." She added that facial recognition technology would be rolled out across the country with record investment. Law-abiding citizens have nothing to fear as the technology only locates specifically wanted people. I suspect that is a lie. I suspect it is going to be used for potentially very sinister means. And we're going to come into that during this live. That's why I am addressing this, because I'm very, very concerned about it. There was also the organisation that was involved in this appeal linked straight into the criminal network as well via Charlie Veitch's girlfriend, who was part of it, and it goes and links into the Goldsmiths. So this whole court case that they said about yesterday was a staged deception. Now the appeal was just trying to say that it would potentially infringe on civil liberties and privacy, when actually I think it's much, much more serious than that with this facial recognition technology. And I'm going to give you the evidence that proves that it is very, very sinister, I believe, through the Companies House records. So we remember we talked about Sarah Jones in the article. We're going to come to the evidence on her shortly. But before we do that, I now have to seriously consider, based on their push now for facial recognition, that it may be that they are considering using this technology along with technology capable of claiming people have suffered illnesses such as heart attacks that could be used for autonomous targeted assassinations in relation to finances, blood, organs, or political motives. So I'm going to come into a little bit of this later. From the evidence, it appears that those behind the criminal system may have developed technology capable of creating instant health problems and death, and that it may have been trialed during football matches. Now, they are behind the world's crime. Make no mistake, the police, the intelligence agencies, the governments are all linking in with the Vatican and the doomsday cult via the research now. So they are behind a falsified tribulation event leading into the potential end of creation in all of this, according to all of my research. So if they're behind the crime, why would they want to put these cameras in place? Well, it's not going to be to target the criminals. It's going to be to target, very likely, people that would either hinder their progress to reach their conclusive agenda or to facilitate their conclusive agenda along the way. So, for example, facial recognition, if you not aware what it is, it's like a camera device that would be able to identify somebody using technology just by their face. Now, once they've identified someone using that technology, that gives them potentially the ability to do something towards those people. So I'm just going to remove this person. And I'm going to give you the evidence that proves why this technology is sinister. And you can please go and verify what I'm telling you. You can do it as I'm on the live stream now. You can just look on a secondary device, check some of the information I'm telling you, or you can look at the video afterwards to verify the information. And it will all be in the document that is available to everybody to have. So I'll give you the email in a minute to get the document if you haven't already got it. So please get a pen. Now, I personally recall seeing what appeared to be a spate of unusual deaths during football matches after the fraud had started to be exposed. And there's an article on Facebook that I found that says, never seen before phenomenon of soccer stars collapsing and dying continues 4 years after the first COVID vaccines. Professional soccer players have mandatory COVID vaccination protocol to be able to travel freely to other countries and to be able to play. While no one can name even one soccer star in the prime of their lives that has ever collapsed and died on the field or without, we have today several every month doing so post the most controversial experimental medication forced upon them, yet in the world is yet still eerily quiet about it. Now, I suspect this is a deception in relation to the vaccines. Now, I do believe that they have possibly laced some of the vaccines to make it seem more likely that it's vaccines, and also I suspect that they have used a lot of actors in relation to it. And the big question is that supports that is, I've spoken to various people who are supposedly saying that the vaccines were a dangerous event and that it was mismanaged, but those individuals are refusing to use the evidence that I hold, which proves that the vaccine companies were criminal organizations, fraudulent criminal organizations. So the big question is, why would they not use that evidence? That's the best evidence you could have to say to the governments, look, why have you got a forged company, a criminal company creating vaccines, and yet none of them are? And in fact, some of them completely turned on me when I found that they were actually connected to the fraud, some of them immediately to the paedophile information exchange, okay, which links back into the blood of the children in all of this, which is such a huge, huge element. So the facial recognition cameras, I suspect that what they will be using it for is to, in conjunction with technology that will potentially have the ability to take lives and make it seem as though it was a health issue, to get rid of people that are trying to protect the children and stop what their system is leading towards, the prophecies and how that links into the Vatican, but also facilitate their criminal network financially, and how they could do that, because everything has been centralized, you see. So nobody's going to be safe from this if I'm right about this. And what they could do is utilize insurance policies, and such as property, but also life insurance properties, falsify the records, and then remove individuals using this technology potentially, and then claim all of the money from those processes. Now, I know that this is a real possibility in terms of the forgery of the insurance policies, because they actually did it on my policy with my wife. I was the main policy holder for a buildings insurance policy, and I happened to go in and look at it, and they'd removed my name from the record and just put my wife's, even though I'm the main record holder. Now, I suspect that was because there was a plan potentially to get rid of me and ensure that all of the finances from the property in the event of a buildings insurance claim would have gone to my wife. So if you then consider how this may be used, particularly with people with lots of assets and lots of money, then that would be facilitated by removing those individuals, putting it in names, for example, of somebody who's connected to them, who are part of the fraud and who's part of this complicit crime against the children, and then that money then can be used to facilitate the criminal network, and also the addictions, because they are behind the world drug trafficking. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. You've got a company called Russell & Co., which is linking in with the Flemings, who are links in with the NHS, links in with the police, links in with the Freemasons. Those that are running our system are behind the world problems. Make no mistake, behind the drug trafficking, this includes your councillors, your MPs, your Prime Minister, the police, heads of the police, heads of the NHS. The whole system has been set up specifically around this criminal network, and the drug trafficking is a huge part of it, because what they can do is run the blood of the children underneath and hide it within the drug trafficking network, as well as the horse bloodstock trade, which is a huge part of this. So now there's this drive, it seems, to really get facial recognition right across the country. Several private sector companies are actively involved in providing facial recognition technology for UK police, particularly under a new £20 million procurement framework established in April 2025, this month, by Blue Light Commercial. We're going to come to them in a minute, to expand live facial recognition across the country. Now, I suspect they'd already decided that they were going to be rolling this out before this court case. The timing of it was only yesterday, and I found this article said they've already said there's a 20 million procurement framework already been established this month already, even though that court case has only just happened yesterday. The key companies and technologies involved in the facial recognition, let me just go to the comments so I'm not missing anything. Anyone can go on YouTube. Lasers interact with components of the jab. There's people that are saying that are part of the centralized criminal network. Okay, so you've got to ask why. Why are they not exposing the criminal network of the fraud that proves the jabs are criminal companies? Doesn't make sense. So therefore, there's a bigger deception in this than you're all being led to believe, even by individuals that are not within the government, by a lot of the social media platforms as well. I think I'm the only one actually giving you the evidence of the truth in all of this. I'm just having a look at the other comments. This is just rambling paranoid. Right, let's get rid of Dr. Snorkel. See if there's anyone else I need to get rid of. They send people on, particularly with people that have the truth in all of this. So there's somebody I've had to just get rid of there. Okay. The key companies involved in the technology, according to the research I've done, is NEC Software Solutions. We're going to come to some of these in a minute, and I'm going to give you the verifiable evidence of why they are linked to the blood of the children and the criminal network, okay, and how this all ties into what I'm saying. We also got a company called Digital Barriers Services. We're going to come to these later. CoreSight AI, artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is linking in with this technology. Now, that is in itself incredibly worrying. And what this will be leading you towards is the ability for this technology to be controlled by AI to identify individuals. If they do link that with a weapons system that mimics or creates a health risk, all right, now you've got to remember that the health service is also involved in the criminal network. So they can literally claim that somebody has died, lie about it, okay, when they actually died from something else in conjunction with this technology. Make no mistake, this is a real possibility now, everybody. Now, artificial intelligence, all right, if they use the technology to identify individuals and then potentially remove those individuals, take them out through some sort of other collaborative technology, that then removes the accountability from a human being completely. All right, so in other words, it gives the ability to unalive somebody with absolutely no trace back to the individuals, okay, who are part of it. You'll also very likely be able to have people accessing the technology remotely, whether it be through what they would claim would be hacking. Now, the fact that they're using AI for this is very worrying, because they've already told us in recent articles over the last couple of weeks that AI linked to the financial system is being corrupted. Okay, so this is setting up the ability to say that other artificial intelligence linked in technology is also corrupted, which then helps to remove the accountability from those that may be planning anything sinister. And you're going to see, like I said, some information about this. So we've got Bedrock is another company, BEDROQ, Cognitech, which I haven't researched, and at the bottom you've got Plantier. There's some others as well, but I'm going to go through some of the research now of these with you, and it's pretty conclusive when you have my document particularly as well, which most people will be able to get, and I'll give you my email now. If you haven't already got it, please email me. It's Gary, the truth sets us free @gmail.com. That's Gary with one R, the truth sets us free @gmail.com. I'll give it one more time. Gary, the truth sets us free @gmail.com. My other one is Gary, time for freedom @proton.me. So that's Gary with one word, the word for, with one R, sorry. The word for is the word FOR, not the letter for. Just having a little look at the comments. Yeah, so someone's put, and it's widely throughout society now. I presume you're talking about, depravity. You're talking about total depravity. We don't know the whole half of what goes on in this evil world. Yes, it's looking very sinister, isn't it? Why did I join the police force? Because I believed I could make a difference for victims in this, and initially I felt that was the case. But I ended up resigning then, 2018, when I realised I didn't know about this fraud then, but I realised it was a corrupted process. Not with the fraud though. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much for your comment. Really appreciate it. Did you get a hold of Emma Catherine of the Imagination podcast by chance? Gene Decode has been researching as well, Gary. My friend would like to get in touch with you. Yeah, put him in contact with me. No, I still haven't. I know you keep saying about that person. I still haven't contacted them. It's on my screenshots to do it somewhere. And I know I've been saying that for ages. I've just got so much to do, to be honest with you. The most important thing I'm trying to do is get all of this evidence into a document and circulate it. You know, I could be doing loads of different podcasts. Those podcasts could be corrupted and I'm not actually getting the evidence out to anybody. Whereas if I can send a document with the proof of the evidence within it, then I know that it's at least, you know, being put out there, hopefully. Been searching this for 12 years, mate. How do you think they got the Iraqis to drop weapons and surrender? Battlefield technology, crowd control. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the technology's been around, but they're now actually really pushing it publicly into the public domain, which is new. So it is a very, very concerning time. I think if people don't follow my strategy and don't listen to what I'm saying, and I think there's a reason that the Truman Show is linked to me, Truman. I think I'm the only one showing the evidence of everything I'm saying and verifying everything. And I think if people don't start listening and acting on this evidence in the strategy, which if I have chance I'll come to later, then I think we're in, you know, we're leading ourselves into the end, probably a judgment upon all of us, and it's looking like all of humanity is going to be facing possibly damnation for eternity if we're not lucky. You know, they're telling us that children are being abused, etc., and we're not doing anything about it, and yet people are willing to block roads when the price of petrol goes up. It's just unbelievable. So my advice to everybody is look at my evidence, follow what I'm saying, follow the strategy, or be willing to face judgment. And I don't think anyone's going to get through that judgment, if I'm being honest with you. I think they'll all be facing damnation, because when you've got children that are suffering, you have to be willing to come out of your comfort zone and put yourself on the line. You have to. It's the only right thing. We're talking hundreds of thousands of children here as well. We're not just talking, you know, a couple of other children that aren't yours. We're talking a lot of children according to the research. Now, I'm very mindful that the evidence could have been positioned for me specifically because of who I may be in all of this, but I still have to consider that there is a real risk to everyone. So we had the blue light commercial. Remember, this is the company that is overseeing all of the facial recognition side of things. Blue Light Commercial Limited was incorporated in March 2020 during the COVID situation. The incorporation document shows Kent Police and Crime Commissioner on it, which is interesting because that's where I was born and the police force I was working in. It also has APCC Susanna Mary Hancock on the incorporation document as well. Susanna Mary Hancock is shown as connected to two companies on Companies House, Blue Lights Commercial Limited, as we've said, and Police Digital. That makes important connections to Jimmy Savile, Donald Trump, the Vatican, the Durayers, throughout the criminal network, to the apparent murders of Jill Dando. Major areas of my research, all from this company, okay, all from Police Digital, which is now connected straight to the main organisation of the facial recognition cameras. So we now immediately know that there is very likely a falsified prophetic motive behind the technology that they're putting in place. Where are we? Next one. Why is it not letting me scroll? Bear with me. In relation to Hancock, there's an article in relation to this officer. I'll read this just because it's here. New chief executive. This is from 2018. So she became the new chief executive has been appointed by the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. Susanna Hancock will take over the APCC Chief Executive in spring, bringing with her 25 years of experience of working in policing and criminal justice. She has served as Chief Executive for the Essex Police, Fire and Crime Commission since 2013, which is the year after CERN claimed to have discovered the Higgs boson or God particle. It's not going to be a coincidence, everybody. She oversaw Roger Hurst's transition to become the first PCC. Oh, why can't I scroll? The first PCC to take on governance of the fire services as well, which is very relevant. See, everything's been centralised. Having control of the fire services also gives the ability to manipulate the criminal system, also facilitate deaths if necessary, through fires, through car accidents, cover up deliberate events that have been used to remove individuals. This is the sort of thing we now have to consider, because we absolutely 100% are living under a criminal network, all right, who are seemingly involved in high profile murders, all right, and this is international crime. This isn't just our government, just our police. This is international, and the blood of the children and the fraud that I'm identifying seems to be what connects them all, also to the Vatican as well. Just looking at the comments. Hi Gary, I do watch, don't always comment, as I usually multitask. Thank you for your bravery and integrity. Thank you so much, JKK. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you to say that. Just having a look at the comments. The trolls are here again. Yeah, I've already blocked 2 people. Yeah, I do use a VPN. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Jimmy Savile. I don't like calling you Jimmy. I know it's your username. People are under a trance, in fear, in debt, or disconnected from it and numb. I don't understand why they have gotten away with it for so long. Well, nobody's really known about it, have they? It's, you know, I've only found this evidence, which is the key to all of it, in the last 4 years. But now we have it, we know what needs to happen, you see. And what is mystifying is nobody's doing a thing. It just doesn't make sense. And I honestly think everyone's going to be facing a judgment if it's coming. I don't think anyone's going to get away with this, because nobody's doing the right thing. Nobody's using their moral conscience to actually try and save the children. And, you know, we should be out there arresting people. It's quite simple now, which is why my strategy is the answer. And if people aren't going to be willing to follow this strategy, I think they're going to be facing judgment. And it looks like everybody. It's just unreal. It looks like everybody. Going back to the Companies House record, so referring back to Blue Light Commercial Limited, as we said, this is the organisation that oversees all of the facial recognition. Joy Allen is in the People record and connects to 7 companies, which includes Bishop's Auckland Community Partnership, that have been incorporated in December 2002, the year after the World Trade Center disaster, and it has OYE's services on its incorporation document that links straight into the research of Jeffrey Epstein, Max Clifford, the advisor for the last few prime ministers who practices dark arts, Douglas Smith, who also was arrested for threats to kill, and who also started up fever sex parties. Straight into it. This OYES services links very, very quickly to the NHS Confederation, which means you have a link into the healthcare system straight from the, which obviously is supporting what I'm telling you, where they're going to be using the technology, I suspect, to cause instant death to certain individuals that they can be selected for, and also the healthcare system will just cover it up, okay? Now also what they might use it for is to target people for their blood, all right? So if you've got somebody that is requesting a certain blood type transfusion as part of this criminal network, because the blood is a huge part of this, where it seems as though they're using the blood and organ harvesting to try and live longer, then that person will be willing to pay a lot of money for a particular blood if it's unusual, or particular organs or whatever. Now this will give them the ability to remove or unalive those people, cover it up with no accountability and liability, and then use the blood and the organs of these people. Now I've done a lot of research into this, and I'm sorry to say this is all real, what I'm telling you about, according to all of the research. I've researched the organ harvesting. It links straight into criminal organisations via the companies that the NHS use, okay, in relation to the blood and the organ harvesting. There's connections or organ transplants There's criminal organisations linking in with the blood of the children, the torture of the children, and what we're talking about here all the way through this. All right, you cannot ignore it, and it is linked to the international drug trafficking trade, the opium trade. Loads of evidence now supporting this, linking him from the Russell and Co organisation that was openly involved in world opium drug supply in relation to China. The links back in with the blood side of things. Page 7 of the incorporation document shows a Dickinson Biggs link to a Teesside company, where the date appears to have been doctored on the incorporation document. Teesside is significant already in my research to the criminal network, and there's loads of evidence from that going back into the bloodstock industry again. Criminal bloodstock organisations. And over the last few days, I found an actual bloodstock company linked straight to Exporn Manor Freehold Limited via the same companies. And that's where my investigation began, which involved acquiring forged bank documents in relation to all of this. So we have a Teesside connection. Page 16 shows a Reverend Michael Wesley Edward Thompson, a Methodist minister, making a link to the apparent false prophecy agenda. This is straight in from the blue light company that is involved in the facial recognition cameras, overseeing it. Well, Bishop Auckland, remember this company had Bishop Auckland in it. That is relevant to Justin Welby, who was the former Archbishop of Canterbury and is significantly implicated in the criminal network and links closely to the Rothschilds, the Flemings, Exporn Manor, where my investigation began, and the crimes against children. Alison Natalie K. Lowe is shown as having been a director for Blue Light Commercial Limited from the 31st of March 2022. This is the exact same day that Deborah Fleming resigned from the NHS as a chief executive officer to become involved in my investigations at Exporn Manor. She then resigned, this is Lowe, resigned in July 2024, which is the month I started exposing the connection to the blood of the children and the fraud. And this name, Lowe, Alison Lowe, is the exact same person who they tried to use against me in a criminal court case involving my wife and the theft of my property. And I'd already linked her to the Police and Crime Commissioner's office, which means the link to Jimmy Savile. And there's no coincidence, everybody, that after I exposed the link to the the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, to Jimmy Savile and to the Collider Technology and the falsified prophecies, they have announced that that organisation is being scrapped. Okay, now that is a false hope. That's a false hope, trying to make me and others think that, okay, if they're scrapping it, then they're sorting this out. No, they are not, everybody. They are not doing anything about this. If anything, they are escalating things now, and the facial recognition cameras is a good example of why I'm saying that. So what about the other companies that it mentions that's involved in the facial recognition? Well, NEC Software Solutions UK Limited have been incorporated as CMC Leasing Limited in 1969, which is the same year that Charles became the Prince of Wales, which is very relevant in all of this. Okay, Wales is where Companies House have been based. That's where the criminal organisations are created through the forgery of the register by Companies House. 1969 is when I suspect the fake moon landing involving NASA one short of Satan also occurred. Stephen John Maynard connects NEC Software Solutions UK Limited to various health and clinical companies. So you have a link now into the healthcare system straight away from the facial recognition cameras. But also, this same name connects to Capita, and that Capita company has a number after it, and it had been incorporated in 1990, a key year, and had been a criminal company, having been incorporated with the exact same companies as Exporn Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began, linking to Deborah Fleming, the chief executive NHS of the NHS. Exporn Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began, and major areas of the criminal network. And Capita, the name of the company that is connected to them, links straight to the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, believe it or not. Literally, Ricky Dearman, who was named as the abuser, along with others, of two children, his children, and supposedly making them take part in decapitating children and drinking the children's blood, links straight to a capital organisation as well, which we've just mentioned. Jane Whitley connects NEC Software Solutions UK Limited to 30 companies, including Health Information Systems UK Limited. So here we have a link to the facial recognition camera system to the Health Information System. All right, see what I mean? This is how relevant this is now, because this is tying into health records of everybody, okay, and how that links in with facial recognition. So they can use that to manipulate the system and the death of individuals and take people out and get rid of people. I'm sorry to say, I really do believe this is something that is very serious now, and is probably the biggest step I've seen them making towards their control system to lead towards the falsified prophecies. This is a really big, significant thing. They're going to be putting at least 50 vans, I believe, with the cameras on across the country. That's just the start. They'll be doing a lot more. Let me just come to the comments. Hi Gary, I've mentioned that, sorry. Thank you so much, Carl. Really appreciate your comment. They're all lined up for those shots, and now it's different. People are different now. Yes, but people aren't realizing the threat from the directed energy and everything I'm talking about. The shots was a deception, all right? Make you think it was all about the vaccines, and then you don't look at what the real issues are in all of this, you see. Have I arrested anyone? No, I haven't, because I've got, and you're obviously compromised, I haven't, because I've got a potential arrest warrant where I failed to attend court. But that's the only reason I have not arrested anyone. I would absolutely be arresting them now. Everybody should be arresting these people, and we're going to come to the strategy later. I've removed that person because I believe they're compromised. Taffy, he needs to keep safe. Yeah, I've removed them, Lisa. I think they're compromised. Can we have a poll on who took the vaccine and who didn't, please? Can do. I think we know a lot of people did. I had 2 or 3. I can't remember. I think it was 3. Hi, enjoying life, rural. We can all make citizens arrests, learn the laws and terminology. That's our rights. 100% you can. Spot on. XXX. This is what we need. We need people to be promoting the citizens arrest. This is the key. All right, this is what they are worried about, and I'm going to give some information later. I didn't plan on being on too late, but I'm going to give some information, if I can, about how we know that this is the strategy that needs to take place, and they know it's going to end the entire system. Even they know it. So we've got this NEC company, and we've got Jane Whitley connects it to 30 companies, as I've said, to the Health Information Centre company, or health company. Where is it? You can tell I'm getting tired now. Health Information Systems UK Limited, been incorporated in 2002. It dissolved on the 13th of December 2022, which is the exact same month that I made the report of the fraud, everybody. That's not going to be a coincidence. 20 years after it was incorporated, it dissolves in the same month that I made the report of the fraud. All right, this is very important. Pincent Masons are in the people record, making significant connections to the criminal network and the crimes against humanity. That is from this healthcare information system, everybody. If this isn't sinking in now, I don't know what is. All right, this is so important that you listen to this. There are many NPS companies around this. NPS, November Papa Sierra, which is the acronym used for the National Police Service that they announced last year, which I have linked to international. I can't confirm that's international. £40 million worth of drugs in a raid. The exact names, okay, are linked to NPS Limited, which I believe is linking in with the National Police Service, which is supporting what I'm saying about the police being involved in the international drug trafficking network and how that is running alongside of the blood of the children. The other company that was mentioned was Digital Barriers, and this is another company appearing to be used for the facial recognition companies. Well, Digital Barriers had already featured in my previous research, and Digital Barriers PLC was identified linking to Exborn Manor Freehold Limited immediately, with it being a criminal company. And this was identified from the research of Thomas Hamilton in the Dunblane massacre research that I done immediately, everybody. The Dunblane massacre makes huge connections into what is going on in the world at the moment. Links in with Donald Trump, it links in with Candace Owens, multiple connections back into Jimmy Savile, and everything else that I'm exposing coming in from the Dunblane massacre. And I've searched the two what do you call them, journalists that were turned up on the first of all at the event, the massacre, the head teacher, the deputy head teacher, the judge involved, all linked into the criminal network and the apparent crimes against children. So I suspect that event was a deception. Possibly they had said it was a massacre, but they just took the children into the criminal network for their blood and organ harvesting. That's what we have to consider with all of this. And then they used the massacre to cover it up. We've also got a company called Coresight AI that we said earlier. Well, when you research Companies House, it comes up with Coresight UK Limited that have been incorporated in September 2020. Coresight AI Limited is of an address of Tel Aviv, Israel, is on the incorporation documents. We have a link into the falsified prophecies straight from this other company that they've mentioned being involved in the facial recognition cameras. There's also a company on its incorporation document of Haynes Watt Worcester Limited. On that incorporation document, a separate search shows several Haynes Watt Worcester companies that are either changing its name as I'm exposing the fraud or are dissolving as the exposure of the criminal network happens. This includes DSBP Worcester Limited that have been called Haynes Watt Worcester Limited, the exact same name from 2013, and it dissolved in February 2025 after I continued exposing the fraud. On its incorporation document, it has Ashcroft Cameron UK Limited, and that company connects it to the criminal network and to the research of Queen Camilla, who is linked to Jimmy Savile. We're talking immediately, practically immediately, it might be one company away from Queen Camilla, but there's over 5 million registered companies. That's not going to be a coincidence, everybody. It also links into the threat from directed energy, the research that I've already done, via the banning of lead research, the banning of lead paint, which will give the ability to protect them in the event of any harmful technology, potentially, by having the lead paint, which was an exclusion to the banning on the grade 1 and grade 2 listed buildings, which means everyone else is being subjected to harmful technology, potentially. It's also shown in the research, this is the Ashcroft Cameron, is also shown, or Cameron Ashcroft, also shown in the research of Sasha Stone, which links to the blood of tortured children, and information suggests he is linked to the black nobility families of the Vatican. A search for Bedrock, this is the other company involved in the facial recognition cameras, shows that Bedrock Limited have been incorporated in March 2019 on the lead up to the COVID deception, as an address in Hampshire, where Deborah Fleming had been an NHS Chief Executive Officer prior to retiring to becoming involved in Exbourne Manor, where my investigations were. The filing history shows that its registered address was changed for a pool address, which is right near Exbourne Manor, in January 2022, as I made early inquiries at Exbourne Manor. So everywhere it could have gone in the country, straight away, immediately from the company, a link into my investigation. Edward Jackson Armitage is the only director for the company and connects it to 15 companies, including Hart Dean Properties Limited, that have been incorporated as Fox Pond Limited in 2017 before its name was changed on the 8th of August 2024, which is shortly after I started publicising the evidence of the blood of the tortured children, linking into the criminal network, into the fraud that the government has in place. The filing history shows various quick address changes. Two of them are within the same day, two different addresses where they're panicking. And within the filing history, it's got an address of one of them being 20 Wenlock Road. Well, 20 Wenlock Road is the address that links to the paedophile information exchange and the World Trade Center disaster via the research. On the 8th of August 2024, James Paul Allrock ceased being a person of significant control for the company. This was not long after Anthony Roberts resigned from Exbourne Manor, triggering my investigations. Unusually, the People record shows AS trustees of DM Retirement Trust James John Woolrock and MW Trustees Limited. One big entry in the People Record. I don't think I've ever seen that before, with a name as well as a company as well. There are two companies there, and I've never seen that, I don't think. This entry has a date of birth, and it connects to four companies, including Dorset Marine and General Limited. They have been incorporated in 1978, and it has an address in Dorset. The People Record shows that Jordan Company secretaries had been appointed to the company from May 2007, the month that Madeleine McCann went missing, until May 2009, which is when I became a director not long after that, and the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated, linking most areas of the fraud together. So this is Jordan Secretaries, which means a link to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began as well. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein links immediately to these companies that we're talking about as well, straight from the research of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, I mentioned that the filing history shows that on the 11th of February 1997, it had a registered address of 5 Alumchine Road in Westbourne, not far from my wife's family's connected Westbourne Church, which is on Almhurst Road, I believe, and that is linked to Deborah Fleming via the research. Just going to move on to Palantir in a minute. I'll just see if there's any comments. We all have to be the example. This is not on Gary. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We all have to get involved. Eventually, they will force us into it. Yeah, look, I'm giving you a way to resolve this. If something does not happen soon, there's either going to be chaos, or there's going to be chaos leading into a falsified tribulation event, or they're going to trigger a tribulation event anyway, according to all of my research, which then risks a judgment and the end of all of creation. So, there really is no other option in this. You can't go through their system, all right? Nobody else is doing anything about this, okay? Everyone else is suggesting things that would leave this system in place. We cannot allow this system to carry on. Whichever way you look at this, we can't. How can we get involved? I'm going to read to you my strategy in a minute, okay? I'm just going to explain to you this first, give you the evidence of this so you realise I'm not making all of this up. You can verify it. You can listen to it as I'm doing it. You can verify some of this information. You can check it on the document when you get it. You can check it after the video. So Palantir is also one of the companies which has already been linked into the digital ID element of things, where they were going to try and enslave you all into digital ID, which now obviously links this in with the facial recognition technology, and it makes immediate and important connections to the criminal network as shown elsewhere. So Sarah Jones is the lady that was mentioned in the report. I've sent multiple emails with my documents on, probably at least 2 anyway, with my evidential research document on it to Sarah Jones. Haven't had a response at all. I've had no response from anyone, even my MP that was copied in on that email, and none of them are responding. I've got 50 reference police reports, around 50 now. All of them are being ignored. Okay, this is it, everybody. I am literally giving you the truth in everything with the evidence and telling you what needs to happen to resolve it and stop it. It's up to you now to make this decision. I cannot do this all myself, I believe. I'm one man. Research shows that she is a British Labour Party politician who has been a Member of Parliament for Croydon West, formerly Croydon Central, since 2017 after the Peatsgate scandal was exposed. She has served as Minister of State for Policing and Crime since the 6th of September 2025. This is the day after David Lammy was positioned as the Justice Secretary. He links immediately into the Beckhams, David Beckham and Victoria Beckham, and massive elements of the criminal network. And there is a connection to Ingenious Film Partners too, which is back into me from that. So he became the Justice Secretary on the 5th. She became this position on the 6th. And then they arranged my arrest on the 19th of September. That's when I was arrested. She was also the Industry and Decarbonisation and Shadow Minister for Police and the Fire Service. She served as Minister of State for Industry from July 2024, which is the month that I started releasing the evidence of the blood of the tortured children. And she then stopped that position in September 2025 as the exposure continued. Jones later became head of campaigns at, I'll just mention this bit. She was educated at the Old Palace School in Croydon and at Durham University, which creates a link back to Bishop's Auckland and Durham, which is where it is. And Durham is where, as I've said, Justin Welby, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, was working. Jones later became the head of campaigns at the housing charity Shelter, which has already been identified as linked to the criminal network. During that time as Shelter, she won the PR award for the Best Public Affairs campaign. She was later appointed head of public affairs for the NHS Confederation. We've already mentioned that company I spoke about earlier, OYEZ, links, I think it's one company away from the NHS Confederation, which links to Jeffrey Epstein, Max Clifford, the special advisor Douglas Smith, who practices the dark arts and has been arrested for threats to kill with a firearm, and he also opened Fever sex parties, or started Fever sex parties. This is the advisor for the last few prime ministers, everybody. You should all now be out making arrests, following my strategy. The evidence is absolutely obvious, okay? It's now staring us in the face, okay, that if we don't do anything, then we face a very sinister time indeed, if not no time at all. Jones served as senior civil servant and was part of the team delivering the 2012 Olympic Games. The Olympic Games companies connect to the research from my school that I went to very, very quickly via a Waterman company, offshore company, that links to the Knights Templar. It then goes in very quickly to Olympic Games companies, and you actually have David Beckham Limited amongst that as well. So she's connected to the Olympic Games. After leaving the civil service in 2012, Jones worked in a series of roles in the public and private sector, including at Gatwick Airport, which is linked to the fraud, where she campaigned for a second runway. Jones made her maiden speech, because everything's been centralised to this criminal network, gives them the ability to launder the money. Okay, it's worth trillions, multiple trillions of pounds, stealing it from the public through the taxation and through the other financial sectors. And it's all very relative to Hampshire in the south of England, because Hampshire is where a company called Portals began. Portals became the currency producer. Major organised crime through that currency production. Jones made a maiden speech in the House of Commons during a debate on the Grenfell Tower fire. She actually links to the Grenfell Tower fire. We'll be talking about that later. She launched the all-party parliamentary group on knife crime in September 2017, being elected as the group's chair. As its launch, over 30 MPs and peers joined the group at its launch, which is supported by charities Red Thread, which I've linked to the fraud at a key part, and Bernardo's, which is significantly linked to the fraud as well. As Labour's Shadow Minister of State of Policing and Fire Service, Jones led Labour's response to the police crime sentencing and courts bill in Parliament. Oh, it's a mouthful. A Companies House search for Jones shows that she is connected to 3 companies, including Lloyd Jones Communications Limited, that had been incorporated in 2013 after CERN had discovered the Higgs boson or God particle, supposedly. And it has an address of simply CRO. There's no other address to it, which is not even an address. And yet that's on its incorporation document, and that is on its registered address. It is not an address. It has Sinclair & Co. on its incorporation document. Sinclair Taylors and Martin solicitors has already been linked directly to Andrew McFarlane, the head of the family courts, and a company called Young Minds Company, which leads to a Collider company and major areas of the criminal network. This, of course, gives the ability to steal the children through the family courts by having it compromised to the blood of the children. There is no mention of a Lloyd in the company anywhere other than the name, but I suspect this may relate to Lloyd's Bank, which is significantly involved in the fraud, and a Lloyd is linked to Sweeney Todd and a reference to vampirism in my research. Jones is also connected to Delta Homes Limited. It was incorporated in 2006 and has Devonshire solicitors on its incorporation document that had previously been linked directly to Lansdowne Club Limited, which is relevant immediately to the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table that links to me and my school. It goes back into that evidence. This is an organisation that was set up in 1720, supposedly to emphasise the King Arthur relevance in everything, which appears to possibly reference the Antichrist, okay? Because King Arthur links to Wales. You've got the red dragon in the flag of Wales. It's where Charles was the Prince of Wales. The red dragon is mentioned in the scripture linking to the Antichrist. You have, where are we? It's also shown, so we're talking about the Devonshire solicitors, is also shown in the research of cloning, human cloning and human fertilization, and to Clarion Housing, which is the UK's largest social housing company and appears to be a criminal organisation from my research. Devonshire solicitors have been incorporated in 2015, and some of the companies connected to the criminal network via its directors include Bevan Britton LLP, Trowers and Hamlin LLP, and critically, 2 Invicta Film Partnership companies, which makes the link back into the Sweeney Todd Group and to vampirism, to the intelligence agencies, to the Satanic Temple United Kingdom, the Royal Foundation, the Prince and Princess of Wales, to the Goldsmiths, directly into the Grenfell Tower fire via the Temples Trust, linking to the Goldsmiths, and the management company at the time of the fire at that building. Major areas of the criminal network is around this area of the research and the evidence of the apparent crimes against children. Let's have a look at the comments. The earth is flat, so don't worry about cameras. I'm not too sure about that, to be honest with you. No one's come for me. I sent it via email to the police. Brilliant. Well done, Lisa. That's amazing. They tried to get me, so now I'm hunting the hunters. Yeah, well done, XX. The X, as you know from my last stream, is very, very important in all of this now, and the bloodline of Christ. I actually think, and I've been thinking about it the last couple of days, the crucifixion, the cross, I suspect is a deception, and then you've got the cross, which I think is the truth of the bloodline of Christ in existence, double crossed. Now I was thinking, okay, well, a cross as in the crossing over, there's a point of contact in there, double cross, but actually no, we've been double crossed, I believe, and I think they were telling us double crossed because there's 2 crosses of relevance. One, the cross of the crucifixion that appears to be, from my evidence, appears to be a deception and a lie, and then the cross, the hooked cross, which appears to relate to the bloodline of Christ and the potential second coming, if you like, of, because I believe that there was a, probably not called Jesus, but there was a character that they named Jesus after back in that time, but I suspect he was not crucified. I suspect that was a deception, a double cross deception, and that he created a bloodline which they kept secret as that double cross against humanity, and that is potentially through the bloodline the second coming of Christ to change everything on earth, and through that bloodline I suspect that's what's going on now. They tried to get me, so now, yeah, well done, brilliant, well done for I'm getting quite tired now. I've sent stuff to my, I'm being gang stalked by the Illuminati. Someone's put them on notice. Yeah, absolutely. At least put them on notice. I mean, I think it's gone past that now, to be honest with you. Taffy, ask Gary for the document for your verification. Yeah, please email me for the document. I will be sending it out. You've just got to bear with me because I've got this really important evidence. If I don't get this out, okay, and I didn't know about this because I was trying to put the other stuff in the document, then I wouldn't be telling you about the risks, potentially imminent risks, through the facial recognition cameras to all of you. Now, my advice is obviously cover your faces, all of you. Okay, when they've got this technology out, do not let your faces be scanned by this. Okay, now they're claiming they're not going to hold images of anyone that's not wanted by the police. I think that's a lie. They're going to be holding a database on everybody's face that they'll then put to your blood samples, to your DNA. That then allows the ability to you to then be targeted later through that technology. All right. I really cannot emphasize how important everyone listens to this, how important it is that everyone listens to this, and that they actually start acting on this. I would love to think I could do this alone, but maybe the day will come when I can do something alone, but at the moment I'm not ready for that yet. I need to know that the people are worth saving, for starters. At the moment, it's looking as though a judgment against all of humanity might be the best option, because nobody from either side of this is doing anything. So those involved in it aren't coming out with the truth. Those that aren't involved in it aren't following a strategy which they need to be able to compel the truth from the others. So we're at this stalemate situation, and I'm now concerned about all of creation, and that you're all going to end up being transhumanized into suffering forever with your conscience trapped in your mind. Now, I don't want that to happen, and I don't want creation to end. Before the end of creation, I mean, you know, there's a real risk in the transhuman element of this. You know, it's there. Go and look at Neuralink. If you're not aware of Neuralink, go and look at it. Now, they're claiming it's just going to be used for helping people's health. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. Anyway, you've got the gist. There's loads more coming in from her. I'm just going to go through the strategy, and then I'll come to questions. So, some of the things, before I move on to the arrest side of things, let me just give you the other strategies, which everybody can do. So there's no excuse not to do them, really. If I can get to it. Where is it? And someone said, and I agree, you know, I haven't put it on the list, but I will, take your children out of the schools now. Okay, take your children out of the schools. That's another element of this. Stop working. If you know, stop all bills, stop all taxes. Arrange a strike with people. You know, it's difficult to get everyone to do that at the same time, though. Stopping work, that's the difficulty. So what you should all be doing now is making appropriate non-emergency reports to the police and other organisations about this. You are all being victimised as a result of this criminal network, but particularly the children. It is advised that this is a recorded report, ideally in writing or a recorded phone call, and that these reports are publicised. You can do an online report, I would advise, is the best way, because it generates a reference number. You don't have to send a letter. You don't have to make a phone call. You can put some information into that online form, and then you save it as a PDF, and it generates a receipt number, which means you've got proof that it's been sent to them. Contact and provide the evidence to your local councillors and members of parliament. Everyone should have been doing that consistently, forwarding loads of emails with the evidence to them, phoning them if necessary, to the police, to the religious, as I've mentioned earlier, to religious establishments as well. Let them know that you know what they're all involved in, to utility companies and any other local or regulated authorities. Consider, as I've said, stopping all paying taxes. I don't think any of you should be paying taxes. Any of you that continue to do so, you become a terrorist under Section 15 of the Terrorism Act 2000, which says that you only have to have a belief that there's a slight chance. I can't remember the exact wording. I should have it in front of me, but I haven't. You don't even have to know it. You just have to think that your money may be being used in terrorism. Well, they're practically telling you it is by saying about the genocide all over the news. This is very much likely a test to you. Very likely a test. Them telling you they're committing genocide and you still paying and being part of that terrorism under the Terrorism Act. So consider stopping paying all of your taxes. You cannot be legally compelled to do so with the criminal network that they've got in place. If you pay via your employee, you can contact HMRC, contact your employee first, then HMRC. Tell your employee that you're not paying your taxes. You'll deal with directly through HMRC. Contact HMRC and say that you will pay your taxes on a conditional basis only, and be willing to backdate your taxes if necessary, once a safeguarded, transparent system is in place to safeguard the children and safeguard humanity against terrorism and international conflicts using your money. Once, you could consider stopping paying all of your utilities, which have all been centralised to the fraud, your gas, electric and water. Share the evidence and strategies to all that you can on communication methods and social media platforms, etc. You should be knocking on doors now, sharing this evidence, arranging coffee mornings, arranging community groups based on the evidence to actually fulfill the strategy on the evidence. You should all be doing this, everyone, but nobody appears to be doing a thing. and therefore be prepared to face a judgment. And I think everyone will probably be eternally judged. I don't think anyone's going to get out from this if we don't turn this around, or don't start doing more. You could create leaflets or little flyers. You might just want to talk about, put my YouTube channel, my email address, or something like that, and international government fraud on little bits of slips of paper, and leave them everywhere. Put them on buses, put them on trains, put them in doctors' surgeries, in libraries. Just leave these things that you're going to make to get people looking at this information everywhere you can. Arrange meetings, as I've said, in your community, and guests could come to them remotely or in person and talk about this evidence. I'm happy to do remote meetings with anybody. If you've got a few people there, I will come on and talk about all of this and explain all of the evidence and go through it. So ideally, you could do your own research as well and consider other ideas to promote the evidence and expose the fraud. We'll come on to the arrests. Ideally, I believe arrests need to take place now. It's gone past the point of, they're telling you the children are being abused, everybody. This is very likely a test for you before your judgment. Very, very possibly. Okay? It may determine what they do on what you do. And they may be using me as are they going to do, Gary's right, it looks like the Truman Show was based on me. I'm producing the evidence. They may be watching you. Are they actually going to do what is obviously what needs to happen? If not, then we'll bring the judgment against them all. This is the sort of thing you have to consider now, everybody. Anyway, I was going to go through the script as to what you say, but it's getting really late. Let's have a look at the comments. Not really late, but late. Yes, it was a distraction from the blood of the innocent. Yes, I believe that's the case now. I'm proudly unvaxxed. The vaxxed shed. No one is impervious. Did you do your Kegels? No. Are you talking about my flexing my back? No, it's actually all right tonight now. I'm laying on my front, so it's not too bad. There's half a donkey in my yard. What? Nice to know that you're focusing on what's important. He literally just explained why he is not visible making arrests. Yeah. I want to believe what you're saying. It's all true, Desi, I'm afraid to say. But if I am who it looks as though I am, then that's a very positive thing for everybody. But it's also a very negative thing, because if nobody does anything, it could explain why my favourite movie is what it is, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And to be honest with you, but if I had to make a snap decision now based on all of the evidence I've got, do we just suddenly remove all of humanity so that the rest of creation can continue and children don't suffer? I'd probably have to go with that, to be honest with you, because we can't allow, this to carry on, and nobody's doing anything. I've been talking about this for 4 years now, probably for a year. Well, yeah, probably nearly a year. I've been talking about arrests. I can't make an arrest myself at the moment because of the, I've got to think tactically. If I was to do an arrest and I'm taken out of this, and I am who it looks as though I may be, I need to ensure that I continue doing what I'm doing. Okay, so that's why I'm not doing that at the moment. It may be that I change my mind and that I do that and I take that chance, but it shouldn't be down to just me to do everything. It really should not be down to one man to literally do everything. Even if I am who it looks as though I am, that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't be doing anything. The Matrix is watching. Oh yeah, they'll be watching 100%. It's not about what you believe, Desi, it's what we can prove. Yes, I've got evidence proving, so everything I'm saying is supported overwhelmingly. I can tell you 100% we're living under a criminal financial system. 100%, which deliberately gives the ability to launder the money in relation to conflicts, terrorism, blood of children, crimes against children. So it cannot remain. It cannot remain. We have to do something. Really shocked about Candace Owens. Yeah, she's massively linked into it. Most of the people you are, I would not trust anyone that has a social media platform or anyone in media or anything unless they're talking about this company's house fraud. It really is the key to all of this, everybody. Someone's watching because they are removing comments Okay, yeah, it's not me removing them. I think they're removing their own comments for some strange reasons. Okay. They're doing something in the Wayback Machine Internet Archives going to make research more difficult. Let's hope it's good, guys. Save our children from the evil people. Well, that's what I'm trying to get everybody to do. Oh, Carla, you're back. You're on here. Well, Carla, you were literally just you've got. I don't know if you haven't looked at the evidence, but you've got to understand it's way more than the vaccines, and you seem to be facilitating what the people involved in the fraud are, which is talking about the vaccines and how that is the issue. It's not the issue. It's way bigger than that. Okay. It's way bigger than that. How do you know? You don't know it's not the directed energy. You don't know that it's not directed energy making it seem like it's the vaccines. Okay? You've got to ask yourself a big question. Again, why aren't those saying the vaccines are dangerous using the evidence to prove that they're criminal organizations? There's only one answer. It's a deception. There's no other reason they wouldn't be using it. There's no other reason. And I've got evidence that actors are being used to portray the injuries caused by the vaccines as well. I've got to be very careful, Carla. Good, go. Please go, because I cannot allow people to be steering people in the wrong direction. Carla has you blocked. I can't see her comments because she's... Look, I am Spirit. I'm sorry, I can't be having comments like that. You can't be saying things like that. I'm sorry. I'm getting rid of you. I'm sorry. We need to be respectful on here. Can't have things like that. I'm obviously all for free speech, but not when you're being abusive or insulting to people unnecessarily. It's just not necessary. We should all be trying to be adults in all of this. This is not the time or place. Grow up. Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, all I've done is try and ask questions, yet I got banned. No, Carla, what you were doing were constantly pushing the vaccine narrative. All right? It's not. You need to understand it's bigger than that. All right? Now, that's exactly what people that are linked to the paedophile information exchange and this criminal network are doing. So please do not keep pushing. It's not just about the vaccines. It's way bigger than that. Okay? If you're not compromised, then I apologise, but I cannot waste time with people that are steering the narrative in the wrong direction. We have to be focused on what all of the evidence is showing. All right, we've got to be pointing this in the right direction. I can't waste time on people. There was somebody the other day, and it was like unbelievable. You know, I'm spending all of this time messaging this person, and they're trying to steer me in the direction of the criminal network. I haven't got time for that. Now, if you're not compromised, I apologise, but you need to understand how big this is and how big the deception is. Palantir put out a manifesto. I don't know. They've got so they were the organisation linked, according to the research I've done. It came up, said they were involved in the ID, where they were going to try and do the ID compulsory identification, digital ID. And they're also now linked into, according to the research, with this, with the facial recognition cameras. And they link immediately into the company that I began, where my investigation began, which links to the blood of the children and the torture and the terrorism, the crimes against humanity, and into me in a huge way, trying to see, it seems, being in the middle, trying to stop it all. Thing is, if we arrest solicitors and they ask for actual proof of the crimes against children, No, because what you're doing is the wording is that they're part of a centralized criminal system, which they are. You can prove that easily through the Company's House records because it links to the crimes, because it's connected to the Pizzagate scandal, the Hampstead child abuse inquiry, the Elm Guest House inquiry, the Dolphin Square, which is all, they're telling us it's linked to the child trafficking. Right, so we've got the proof, and then you tie the solicitor into it, and you can tie the solicitors immediately into the centralized criminal network. It's obvious that it's centralized to this, so it's very, very easy to prove. And what you're saying is conspiring to allow the crime to continue. All right, you're not saying you're involved in crimes against children. You're conspiring the fraud to allow the fraud to continue. So it's a very broad offence. That's why you need it. That's why the script is important, which is in my document, which you can get by emailing GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com or GaryTimeForFreedom@proton.me. GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com or GaryTimeForFreedom@proton.me. That's GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com and GaryTimeForFreedom@proton.me. With all due respect, what are you on about? You have assumed we putting With all due respect, what are you on about? You have assumed we putting down when you not reading proper. Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying there. It's like when you show people the truth, they're not bothered. It's like some people don't have any empathy. They have lost any emotion in their souls, soulless beings. Yeah. I mean, that's an element of this. They've been indoctrinated, haven't they, to just accept and trust the people around them that run their system. Also, there's possibly an element of they don't want to come out of their comfort zone. You know, they don't want to face the truth because that becomes too difficult for them. Well, I'm sorry, they're going to be facing. If a judgment's coming, then they've got no chance. You can't, when you have information saying children are suffering and there's potentially an end of creation, you know, and the blood of the children and all of this, and someone's giving you the evidence to prove it, that's it. You're then committed. You've then got to be committed to try and help resolve that to the best of your abilities, and you must be willing to make sacrifices for that. Number one is putting him down and feel for the guy, but you no right to assume on people who are giving feedback. I'm not too sure what you're mentioning there. I can't spend time with people that are steering into the wrong direction when I've been saying for months that the vaccine is a deception. It's obvious from the evidence. All right, this is why cell towers were put up in Wuhan in August 2019 before the outbreak in December. It's blatantly obvious. I've been talking about this for months. Homeless searching all venues. I challenged Gary on his stance on jabs about the Amish community and open theirs, etc. Yeah, because you continuously pushing that this is about the vaccines. You're not I don't think you've once answered the question. Tell us why the people. Let's just ask you this. Why are those people talking about the vaccines not willing to use the evidence of the international government fraud that proves they're criminal organisations? And don't forget, they're connected to the vaccines. They're actually connected through the Company's House records. It's so obvious. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious now that it's not about the vaccines. So, you know, you had John O'Looney, the Undertaker, trying to claim it. He's linked straight to the paedophile information exchange and the World Trade Center by Companies Made Simple. And then there's other records linking him into more deeper into this via the records. No, I did ban Carla from the TikTok because I haven't got time. Like I've said, we've got the evidence now. We need to focus on a strategy based on the truth. Now, we can't be drawn into a false deception in all of this. We need to really be trying to focus on the truth. And I can tell you now, the vaccines is a deception. I was in the police for 18 years. It's blooming obvious. It's blooming obvious. I'm not saying people haven't been harmed by them, but that harm was possibly staged to make it look like the vaccines. All right, so that means it's a deception. So we need to think away from the vaccines and establish a strategy based on what is really going on here. Where am I from? I'm from Kent in Dorset, Kent in the south of England, and then moved to Dorset. You heard that Trump was invited to the Knights of the Round Table. That's interesting. That's interesting. Thanks very much for your comment. Appreciate it. Henry, thanks. You wish you knew what I knew, Gary. You are just so wrong. Obviously not. I've got the evidence proving everything. So I suspect you're probably going to be compromised. I suspect you haven't even been trying to expose the company's house fraud. I suspect you haven't actually requested the document to show all of the evidence that I've got, have you? You probably haven't even got it. No. That's based towards hardcore, whatever it is your name is. Now, you can have an opinion, but I can't be being pushed on an opinion when the evidence is so obvious. Okay, Carla? So please go on your way elsewhere if that's what you want to do. How do we prove the children's deaths and adrenochrome, not just documents by actual evidence? Because they've told us. So you've got 2 interviews of 2 children claiming that they were raped and abused by their dad, Ricky Dearman. And they both claimed that they were made to decapitate and drink the blood of babies. Right, that's 2 children's interview that are available online from the company's house records. From that, you can then link it into everything. Right, then you've got all of the other stuff. You've got all of the information. The police have even told us that children are being abused, and I think they've even mentioned some murders. And you've also got the Pizzagate scandal. Can you even take that risk if you've got some of this information? Why are you even, remember, they've got no verification. So no names are being verified correctly. No addresses are being verified correctly. That immediately gives the ability to launder the money in relation to the crimes against the children. Why would our government be doing that? Ask yourselves that. Why would they be deliberately facilitating the laundering money in relation to the crimes against children? That's enough. That's all you need. That's all you need, all right, to actually follow the strategy. Information is already in the cloud technology. All out information. Yeah, I agree. I think people should be starting wearing face coverings now to cover yourself with this technology. It's not going to be a good reason they're putting it there, everybody. It's a lie about the crime. They're behind the crime. You've even got the video of somebody admitting they're behind the crime who claims to be a Freemason. So AI technology is the second beast in Revelation, someone's put. I cover the cameras on my device with tape. Yeah, good idea. There are some goodies. At the moment, we're not seeing any goodies. Username Stuart Ward's perhaps should be blocked. Oh, I haven't seen anything. Oh, there. Oh, he's put mad. I haven't seen anything else other than that for now, so I'll see how he goes from here. CERN is the key to the bottomless pit. Yeah, and there was no coincidence that Donald Trump handed, as I was exposing the evidence, handed Elon Musk a key to the White House. And then when I revealed that that was possibly linked to Revelation, they then separated. They had that little tiff and went their separate ways. They could have done that deliberately to make me drawn into the falsified prophecies. They could have made me done that purposely, to be honest, but best strategy, no silence. Will they target us if we make arrests? You don't know till you try, do you? You can't be worrying about that, can you? You've got to be thinking about the children. You've got to be thinking about the children and your children's future with no creation. You cross that bridge when you come to it. If I was to worry about being targeted for the last 4 years, I wouldn't have done any of this, would I? Okay? You need to make the right decision for yourself, all right, and for the children. We are already being targeted. Yes, I've sent files to the churches in mass, all anonymously. Brilliant. Well done, Double X. Well done. Username 43, Lyndon, and username Stewart Wards perhaps should be blocked. Who's the other one? I no longer work for or pay any taxes. Well done, Tuco. Absolutely spot on. Nobody should be paying taxes. You are automatically a terrorist if you do it under Section 15 of the Terrorism Act 2000 until there is a safeguarded system in place. Well done. Look up the 12 presumptions of law, guilty by design. Most people I exposed, the darkness in this upside down world are exposed, I presume, just don't care. Oh, it's like it goes in one ear and straight out of the other ear. Most people don't care. It's heartbreaking. There's a guy on TikTok that thinks that 85% of the world are actually involved in this, actively involved in this. I mean, if that's the case, then we're in serious trouble. We're in serious trouble. But then if there's a judgment, then that's that, you know, and there's no way of changing those people or those that are willing to ignore this evidence, then it could be that 85% are going to be removed in the judgment, and then it leaves the 15%. So what do you do for food and rent money? Oh, that's for somebody else. Sorry. I'm doing my bit. I tell everyone universal credit. Someone's put, that's what it is. They say they don't care. I don't think they are capable anymore of caring. The ones that do, I hear sharing and exposing it all. Every time I sound the alarm, they use drones and helicopters to torture me and mine living with us with COVID-19 symptoms. They continuously take my breath away. Narrow is the path. Interesting, they're not doing that to me, isn't it? Interesting. I'm not being really targeted, am I? Let's face it. Now, I didn't even turn up at court and I haven't been arrested. Now, I've had some helicopters over me quite a few times, and I've had a police dog, and they've been into my tent, but make no mistake, I'm sure they could find me and take me out if they really wanted to, and they are not doing that for whatever reason. Absolutely narrow is the path. Very true. And work cash in hand as much as I can. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say. I should be saying more, actually. My advice is everyone takes their cash, takes their money out of the banks now. As much of it as you can, just leave what you might need just for the little direct debits. I would advise everyone remove their cash. That applies the pressure to the system even more. And not being funny, there is a very good chance that one day they are going to literally shut all of the accounts, take all of your money. They've already taken £15,000 from me that was in my bank. All right, there's a chance they're going to take everything else from me. They did that with criminal court documents, a fact. They're all involved in it. They even stole my property, which was half owned by me, using land registry, which is massively implicated in the criminal network. I've got the evidence proving the whole lot. I'm in the process of trying to apply the pressure to them to make them realise they're going to be fully exposed. So I've requested a subject access request and some other stuff. So, and I need to use what I have got to see if they're going to steal it from me for not complying, and then I can then expose them through them stealing it from me. You see, that's what I'm doing. I could effectively lose everything. However, at least my moral conscience is intact, and I have not paid towards the torture of children or limited the ability to pay towards the torture of the children. The only thing I'm paying for is food and drink, and obviously some bits I need, and I'm paying an insurance policy on something that I have to because there's a contract with a person. But you're still under government control, aren't you? And oh, that's to somebody else. Oh, someone's asked me to do the script. Sorry, Justine, I've only just got to that comment. Okay, I'll go through the script. Yeah, because you haven't got the document yet, have you? Or you haven't got the latest document. Okay, I'm going to read the script. This is the script in relation to the Oh, sorry. I've sorry, Vanessa's just said no sound. I've I've been there for about 10 minutes talking. That I accidentally pressed the mics. Thank you, Vanessa. Sorry, I thought when you sent that message, my my finger was on the microphone, but yeah, I had the microphone off. I do apologise. I've just been talking to myself for about 5 minutes there. I do apologise. My fault. Thank you. And I was saying some important stuff there as well. I was talking about Carla, who's, you know, I just want to apologise, Carla, if you are not compromised by this, then I do apologise. Hopefully you can understand it from my point of view. We have to really streamline a strategy now. We can't be going in the wrong direction in this. But I do apologise if you are not compromised. I'm sorry. We need to expose everything, not pick and choose. Been doing a lot of research and looking like ancient Greek Bible holds a few secrets we've been told, not been told, and it doesn't look good. Oh, I'd be interested to know what you mean by that, Tuco. That would be very interesting. I'll screenshot that. I don't know if you put in the comments. I'm behind on the comments, so yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll come to the script. Thanks, Carla. Okay. Okay. I'll take your word for that. You're not compromised. I apologise then if you're not. I apologise. Grandad Gary. Yeah. That's about right. 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 Let's come to the script. Vanessa's asked. A couple of people have asked that I read the script. Okay. So this is the. It's very important that obviously everyone remains calm, polite, courteous. Do not swear at any time, but be assertive and do not engage in any debate during the process. The important thing is that the notice is served, if you're doing a notice, appropriately. Ask to speak with the most senior member of staff, but do not allow this to delay the process. If necessary, proceed with the first member of staff, as they also represent the company or organization. And remember, although you're speaking to a person, you're directing it towards the organization, and it's important that we emphasize that, and that's why the script is so important. So if you're doing the closure notice, then you read the closure notice aloud to them, and you fill out any sections as you go. If you are asked to leave, then remain calm and continue reading the notice as you leave, but leave a copy of the notice with the company or organization, even if you have to put it on the floor as you're leaving or something like that, if necessary, by placing it on the floor, as I've said. The script. Now, as I've said, I believe arrests are now necessary. Although all of my reference reports shown in this document are being completely ignored, you may decide that you want to submit a report regarding the specific premises that you are considering to make the arrests. This will, however, allow a further time delay for them to enact their strategy as they become cornered. I advise that at least some evidence is secured on the company before arrests take place. This will support the justification and enable the evidence to be presented to the police immediately after the arrest, confirming their connection to the centralised criminal system. The separate research guide that I can provide will assist in you doing this. As I've said, remain calm, do not swear. Ensure there are several people recording the interaction, and consider asking other passers-by to be present to record the interaction if there are limited people there doing so, and that after the interaction they upload it to as many social media platforms as possible. Be appropriate in your engagement and the number of people present at the time of the interaction. I would advise that there are initially no more than 4 or 5 people directly present, right? And a lot of people have been saying, we need loads of people to get together. No, you don't. You don't. That's what they want. Okay, as soon as you get massive amounts of group of people in a group, there's a chance that it's going to be infiltrated, and there's a chance that it's going to trigger into chaos, and then you're going to lead us into the problems of the falsified prophecies, the 3 days of darkness, and the, you could have martial law and all sorts. Very important, do not invade the personal space of those that you are talking to and that are involved in this, unless it is absolutely necessary. One person should be the person speaking. The others should only intervene if necessary to minimize any risk of civil unrest, disorder, or accusations being made about it. Make sure that the person talking is the most confident and assertive and engages in most of the communication. I would advise that you use the words below or something very similar and do not get involved in a dispute. This is just an example. You could say, former police constable Gary Waterman is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralized criminal government system that is using the forgery of the Companies House register and documents to defraud trillions from the masses, and that knowingly and deliberately facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, people trafficking, and the abuse, torture, and murder of children, the most innocent of all. Now, the evidence to support this is within the same document where I'm reading this from, okay? So I've just done it the best I can. You know, it probably could be a lot better, but this is the best I've done, best I can do it with. So you're saying it's a centralized criminal system. And then you say this company has been identified as being part of that centralized criminal system and is continuing to trade. And I therefore now believe that the company and therefore you are conspiring to allow these crimes to continue, which is a serious offence. I am not a police officer, but I have a legal power to arrest you under Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984 in England and Wales, or under common law in Scotland. And so you are to remain here until the police arrive. And I advise that you can also call the police if you want to. All right, so straight away you're creating a neutral ground. You're not in their personal space. You're being polite. You're saying how it is. You're really making them like worried, because that's what you want, is them to be worried in all of this. But you're also making them aware it's not them that's involved. It's them representing the company. Okay, and this is why you're doing it, because they represent the company and they steer the company because they're representing it. So they can become liable for that company's actions. Try to avoid any physical contact with them, as I've said, but if is absolutely necessary, but I don't see that it will be, because what I advise is once you've said this, you leave the building, at least one of you leaves the building to speak to the police when they arrive. So they'll just be within the building still. Remember, these are not people that are likely to be disorderly, especially if you say it in the right way. If it is necessary to block their escape or whatever, then use minimal use of force. If necessary, just standing in their way or hold on to their clothes or their arms. I really don't think that's going to be necessary at all. And you may just want to avoid that completely. Arrange for someone in your group to call the police and explain the situation of the arrest. I would advise that it is a 999 call. Now, I've had to think very carefully, is it 999 or not? But I think in the situation it needs to be, because you've now said that you're arresting people, which makes it more urgent, and obviously the risks to humanity and potential loss of life appear to be significant because of the criminal network. We have the information. They're telling us, remember, hundreds of thousands of children are going missing every year. Well, that's linking into this criminal network. So therefore, you're trying to preserve the life of the children. When the police arrive, I would advise that you speak with them outside of the premises, and that it is critical that the interaction is recorded by at least 2 people when you do this. They cannot legally prevent you filming them in a public place. I would advise that you include the words below or something very similar when speaking to the police. Please could you initially confirm if you have a connection or affiliation to the Freemasons, as they are heavily implicated in the criminal network that I am going to be speaking to you about, or words to that effect. If they say yes, well, you've documented that, all right? So if they don't arrest, then you can go down the routes of, well, it's possibly because they're compromised. If they say no, then obviously you're going to feel a little bit more alleviated and better, and you're going to feel more comfortable to carry on, but you will anyway. And you'll say to them something similar to, former police constable Gary Waterman is providing irrefutable and verifiable evidence of a centralized criminal government system. Same stuff as what you said to the person. And the forgery of the Companies House register and documents to defraud trillions from the masses, and that knowingly and deliberately facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, the abuse, torture, and murder of children, the most innocent of all. There also appears to be a sinister agenda. Now, this is where you're using your powers of communication to try and convince them, if they're not innocent, to do the right thing and make the arrest. So there also appears to be a sinister agenda behind the system. Where is it? Agenda behind it, the system that will be used to victimize you and your family, PC, whatever. If this continues, they'll be like thinking, oh, okay, especially if they're not involved, they'll be thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be listening now more assertively if my family is also at risk. This, along with everything else, this document, the document explaining this, along with the verifiable evidence, can be provided to you on an email, or you might have a USB with it on you there, so you can then just give it to them at the time. And of course, this is all being videoed. You're offering them the evidence there and then on camera. There is no excuse. And you'll say to them something similar to, this company and therefore those working for it are part of this centralized criminal network. And I believe they are conspiring to allow it to continue. Now, conspiring is a very broad definition of an offence, okay? You have to have two or more people that are doing something that is, now I'm not sure this is aiding and abetting, more than merely preparatory. I think that's aiding and abetting. I think conspiring is even broader, to be honest with you. But it's basically where there's an effort for the crime to continue. And that can be anything. It could be, they're not stopping it, and they're involved in emails, which is continuing to facilitate it, or something like that. Conspiring is a very, very broad offence, and it can be used in most offences, even if they're not actually involved in the actual act of the criminal against the children, for example. You can still have conspiring to allow fraud that facilitates the crimes of children, for example. So, where are we? The company and therefore those working for a part of the centralized criminal system, and I believe they are conspiring to allow it to continue by obviously trading. We therefore require you to arrest them on suspicion of conspiring to allow international fraud and crimes against humanity to continue. The necessity for you to arrest, as you will know, officer, is to prevent any further risk to humanity, and particularly harm to children, because they have to have an arrest criteria. So they will understand. If you're saying that, they'll be like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about now. How am I going to not arrest? All right. So they have to have certain arrest criteria, which includes a continued risk of threat of harm to people if they do not arrest it. The other big one that they use is to allow a prompt investigation. So if they were to not arrest that person to secure and preserve the evidence, will they lose evidence by not interviewing them? Well, of course, they could use that for this situation, because otherwise you've already said that they're under arrest, and that if the police officer doesn't arrest them, that gives them chance to concoct some sort of story to cover themselves in relation to what happened and try and get away with it more, you see. So the necessity to arrest, but it's there for the protecting the children anyway, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that too much. If they are reluctant to arrest, say something similar to, now, if you do not arrest them, then you will personally be considered as aiding and abetting this criminal system and its associated harm, and may be liable to arrest by the people either now or at a later date. We need to protect the children, and you appear to be aiding and abetting their suffering as you are refusing to act accordingly. The organisation associated with you are also part of this centralised criminal network. You may not be aware. This includes the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, and the, where is it? I've lost my thing. That connects quickly to Jimmy Savile and the apparent sinister agenda. And you'll have the document to verify this as well. You'll be able to see that. If you just take the time to read the document, you will see that it's connected to Jimmy Savile. Sinister agenda against humanity. Action fraud is also complicit. The National Crime Agency, the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the Serious Fraud Office, and many others connected to the police. So you're trying to convince them. You might want to use your own methods of convincing them. Do you not care about your children, officer? All right? Do you not care about your family? Well, here's your opportunity to protect other people's children and other families and secure a future for all of us. If they still refuse to arrest, then consider withdrawing at that time and ensure that maximum exposure of the interaction and those officers' criminal conduct that is supporting the crimes against children by circulating the video across all social media platforms. And I will put the pictures of those officers taken from that video into my document that will go around the world, hopefully. I've already put the 3 arresting officers that arrested me. I told them, I warned them, I said to them, there's a picture of them potentially going in there. You might even want to say that to the officers. The trouble is they might then, even though they're not supposed to, they might try and take all of the cameras. But, you know, and you don't have to give the cameras, okay? There is no a crime for you to record and others to record what you're saying in a public place to those officers. So we've done that. It may be that things have become more critical at this time, and you may want to consider arresting those police officers. If this becomes necessary, physical contact will again almost certainly be unlikely necessary. No physical contact, no need to go in their personal space. In this situation, say something similar to the officers, like this. As you are refusing to carry out your duty to protect the children, you are also now under arrest and need to remain with me until more police arrive that are hopefully not corrupted. Someone in your group will then call the police again and explain the situation, asking for other officers to attend. This needs to be repeated until appropriate action is taken in the form of arresting, or you then vacate the location without affecting any arrests. Now, there's nothing they can arrest you for, providing you say all of that and you do all of that. There are no offences. Nothing can happen to you legally. All right. You need to stop worrying about potentially, you know, them being corrupt and doing something to you. All right. You need to worry about the children. You need to worry about your future, and you need to be acting on this now, everybody. I can promise you 100%, if I did not have potentially an arrest warrant for me, then I would have been doing this weeks ago, by myself. You've got people that you can do it with. I can't arrange to meet anyone to do it. I have to do it by myself if I'm going to be doing it. Even attempts at this will create huge ripples through the criminal network and will apply the pressure to the system and the organizations involved in the right way. There are many other strategies, as I've said earlier. And let me just tell you about the evidence, one of the bits of the evidence why we know this is the answer, and they're even telling us this is the answer inadvertently, is because of this. In March 2025, a group called Citizens Arrest Network appeared and started publicizing videos of them starting to arrest heads of corporate organizations in relation to environmental concerns that resulted in they themselves being arrested or appearing to be. All right, this, I believe, was staged, and here's the information that shows it was staged. The videos appeared to be staged and possibly an attempt to scare people away from my strategy specifically. Information suggests that the person in the video was somebody called Isabel Rock, with no obvious information on company's house. However, the search also revealed a Susan Isabel Orrock, okay? Susan Isabel Orrock, that showed some relevant records through company's house. Listen to how relevant it is, which is almost guaranteed to be that person's real name, or they staged this information for me to find it deliberately to get to this point now, to be able to actually tell you this, to convince you to change the world forever. Isabel Orrock was appointed to Arkessa Limited in 2016 when the Pizzagate scandal started to be exposed, until 2018 when Gordon Bowden started to expose the non-verification element of the company's house fraud. The company was incorporated in May 2009, the same year as the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and connects almost all areas of the fraud together. It connects immediately to the fraud and to Donald Trump, Trump's golf course, by Dundas and Wilson CS LLP on its incorporation document. That is exactly the same company that's on the incorporation of Donald Trump's golf course. All right, but it's not just that. Colin Thomas Lowry connects Arkessa Limited to 104 companies, including a Lloyd's Bank company and apparent other golf companies, the Glen Eagle Collection. Lloyds Bank companies are critical. They are shown on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that links almost all areas of the fraud together. What are the chances? An almost identical, similar name, almost identical, going straight to this. It was staged, everybody. It was obviously staged, and there's more evidence anyway. There is also a duplicate record for that name, Susan Isabella Orrock, that connects to Kinghorn Management Limited, that was incorporated in May 2019 between Julian Assange and Jeffrey Epstein's supposed arrests, and on the lead up to the COVID deception. Ian Jackson Orrock is shown on the incorporation document and in the people record, but only linked to six companies. A duplicate record for Ian Jackson Orrock connects to 43 companies, including Baronsmead's Second Venture PLC, that was incorporated as Baronsmead VCT PLC in 2000 before its name was changed in 2016, the same year as the Pizzagate scandal became exposed. Sarah Katinka Fromson connects this company to 7 others, including Genome Research Pensions Trustees Limited, the Wellcome Trust Pensions Trust Limited, which links to CERN, by the way, and to Jimmy Savile, to Jewish Community Academy Trust, and to JP Morgan Global Emerging Markets Income Trust PLC, making major connections to the frauds, the Flemings, the Rothschilds, and CERN. These videos, I believe, were staged to try and prevent my strategy, or to give me to know that I would find the evidence because of who I am, and actually get to this point today and use it to convince you to follow out the strategy to save the children and save creation in all of this because of who I am. Anyway, or who I may be, according to all of the research. Hopefully that makes sense. Go to the latest comments. Carla, I hope you're not a flat earther and your name isn't. Yes. But anyway, I'm sorry I upset you, Carla. I'm really sorry if I upset you. It wasn't personal. If you're not compromised, then I apologize. Your name is also a little bit concerning, which I've thought a few times, but I absolutely should be banning people. Of course I should. You're going to be banned in a minute, Big Smoke. All right? Of course I should. There's people obviously being sent on to infiltrate. Hopefully not Carla. There's definitely other people that have been, though. So, absolutely. I should be banning people, certain people. This is what they do, everybody. They infiltrate groups and they deceive everybody through the comments and the groups. This is obvious. This is obviously a strategy. Are all Freemasons involved? Somebody said. I don't know that. I don't know. It's not looking very good. Let's face it that way. We have to consider that they all are. But you don't need, Carla, you don't need to apologise. You don't need to apologise. All right. Thank you for apologising, though. I don't know. But they're all compromised. All Freemasons are compromised because they're part of the secret society organisation. But whether they're all involved with the children and the fraud, I would think a lot of them, probably all of them, are going to be involved in the fraud element, I would think, or the vast majority of them. But I don't know about the actual children. Gary, can you clarify about all solicitors and how they are linked to the Temple Bar? Yep, so go and look at Field Fisher. If you go and type in Field Fisher LLP, click through its directors, you'll see solicitors. There's hundreds of directors linked to that company. Field Fisher has the contract for the BBC. That is the BBC's solicitor. Okay, so that means it's all centralised to the BBC. All right, the BBC in there, you'll see Mishcon de Reya within the Field Fisher company, which means it connects to all of those other solicitors. All right, Mishcon de Reya links to the Vatican in the document. The de Reyas link to Exbourne Manor. So then you find that connection to that. They're also connected to the threat of directed energy via Mishcon de Reya, which links to ICNIRP, an organisation that was supposedly there to regulate the threat from directed energy from cell towers and phones, which is part of the fraud. That's in my document. Anyway, so that's a good place for you to go and look. Go and look at Field Fisher. Click on all of the directors. Look at each company, and you'll notice the company names. Most of them are solicitors firms. Okay. If you then type in what's it called, Sweeney Todd Group, okay, Sweeney Todd Group on Companies House, you'll find a company called that name, and then you'll see the same companies that you've just seen on Field Fisher within linking to the directors of that company. Right, now that's time consuming to verify it, which is what it's easier if you look at my document. But that then confirms the link to the Vatican, to the BBC, to Mishcon de Reya, to the threat of directed energy, to Exbourne Manor, to the Sweeney Todd Group. All right, now the Sweeney Todd Group connects to the person that created it was Edward Lloyd, and he also created the what's it called, Varney the Vampire, which is what all vampire books and movies and etc. were based on, right? And that connects into the vampirism connection of it, which also links into the fraud via the research. Now, within my document, you've got the Temple Bar. So the Temple Bar was literally a bar, okay, that was set up in London at, I think the address was 1 Fleet Street, which is the same address as the barber's shop for Sweeney Todd in the books, okay? I mean, you couldn't write this, could you? The Temple Bar was where people involved in the legal industry and members of Parliament, according to the research, used to go there and have drinks after work, and they used to have pies, mutton pies, PIE, paedophile information exchange. This links in with Ghislaine Maxwell and the what was it called? The Kit Kat Club. The Kit Kat Club research makes links back in with the Temple Bar as well. So this now makes the link to Ghislaine Maxwell to the Temple Bar historically going back, and the pies and the legal profession. I mean, there's loads of other evidence linking Ghislaine Maxwell into it, but this is just one example. And then if you look at Kit Kat Club, you'll see they opened, it's a fetish sex club. They opened in Berlin, which is relevant in all of this. And what else were we going to say about that? Yeah, and you've got an address. There's another address that links into it called 7 Bell Yard as well. But yeah, I would say, and then if you're seeing these companies in there, so Mishcon de Reya, a DLA Piper is another big legal firm, massive legal firm that's in there. There's a list of them, all connected into Field Fisher. You've also got Eversheds there. You'll see Evershed Sutherland LLP. If you go and look at them, they are connected to the police organisations in the research. And that is connected to Field Fisher, which means we've got that link then to the police straight away, to the Vatican, to Field Fisher, to BBC, to the Royals, back into Exbourne Manor. And you can see it all connects via just these two organisations. All right. Hopefully that sort of answered a lot of what you were asking. Not over a vaccine debate. I mean, Gary, what are your opinions on the White Hats? There's a company called White Hats Limited that goes straight into the crimes against the children, that links to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. I'm trying to think what part it linked into. What was I researching to find it? Hold on. It linked to a key bit in the evidence as well. Oh, sugar, what was it? I can't remember. But it linked to a key bit of the crimes against the children straight into the White Hats Limited. So I think obviously it's part of the deception, according to all of the research. Or they positioned it there for me to expose them because of who I am. I mean, this is a big if. It's a big if. It is seeming like I am going to be someone in all of this, and they're possibly trying to tell me that through some of the evidence. I must know sate my curiosity. Who controls the Freemasons? Well, the Freemason, you've got the Grand Master, which is obviously he's the Grand Master for the main Freemason lodge, I believe, which is Prince Edward. No, yeah, Prince Edward, Duke of Kent. That's Prince Edward, isn't it? Yeah, and he's Kent, and it looks as though I'm linking into him. It looks as though there's connections into my school that they've set up. Potentially one of my former schools linking in with him. He's been the Grand Master for quite a while now, and the timing is very relevant. It's in my document. But of course, you'll have the people linking in with the Vatican are going to be massively involved in this. So you'll have, it seems, if they're real people, members of black nobility family. It could be that it's all a deception. It could be they don't even exist. It could be, let's face it, I haven't met them in person. But based on the evidence and the documents, you know, you've got the black nobility family. You've definitely got the Flemings are a massive, massive part of this. Now, I've met people claiming to be the Flemings, so I know they're real people. Deborah Fleming and John Fleming. And there's no coincidence. Now, even though I was led to believe they hadn't really met them before, you had them people calling them sir in the interview, in the meeting that I was involved in to try and remove somebody from the company. So, yeah. Sorry, but Gary, you need to be asking questions and then questioning those answers. What questions do I need to be asking? The evidence is what it is, isn't it? All right, the big question is why isn't everybody sharing this evidence? Why isn't everybody focusing on the company's house fraud? Have you requested the document, Jane Talbot? Have you even got the document? Have you even sent an email asking for the evidence proving everything? It's massive. White hats are, where are they then? Yeah, exactly. It's all, nobody's doing the right thing. They've set up, okay, a criminal non-verification system, trying to make it look as though they were verifying. And what I mean by that is they've got criminal organisations linked to the fraud, verifying the details of criminal organisations linked to the fraud, and then telling Companies House that those companies have been verified, those details have been verified. That tells you nobody is stopping this. All right, that's recently they've done that. They're also allowing virtual secretaries to be used in the criminal network, which removes the accountability and liability from a real person trying to claim that it's a virtual secretary. I didn't ask you, Faith, but thanks for the input. Earth is a globe as God made it. Someone's put which God? Someone's put which God? I can't put a name on the creator because the deception is so vast. I do believe that whatever Jesus' real name was, I believe, or I think, that he was a real person, a real person on earth. And the evidence is stacking up, suggesting that I may be a bloodline, potentially the last bloodline even. There's a lot of evidence now supporting this. I'm not saying it without the evidence. My ring and loads of other stuff tying into this before I was even knew about the fraud. So I suspect he was a real person, but I don't know what to call the name of the creator because the deception is just too vast in this. I followed Gary for a year, but not everyone who questions you, Gary, is compromised. They want answers. I've got nobody asking questions, but I haven't got time to be led people saying, Gary, but the vaccine's this, the vaccine's that. It's obvious. I've covered this, right? The vaccines are obviously part of the deception. And again, I'll come back to why the people who are talking about the vaccines are not using the evidence that they're criminal organisations and they're connected to the vaccines. That tells us all we need to know. It's compromised, all right? Because there is no other answer to that other than it's a deception. There is no other answer to that. There'd be no other reason, would there? Let's face it. So hopefully that's the end of that. I'm not going to be going around in circles. We need to be focusing on the truth. Earth is not a ball, someone's put. Carla, the earth, what is it to you? Flat octagon. I'm aware it's not a perfect sphere due to mountains and lumpy bits. When was the Bible written? According to the research, the Bible was written by Gutenberg's, first of all, which is a German company linking with the formation of the government, unfortunately, it's compromised straight away. If that information is true, because they've provided that information. But it ties in with all of my evidence to suggest that it was written by Gutenberg's, because Gutenberg's ties into key parts of the fraud. But I can't confirm that 100% because but the timing of it is very relevant. It links in with the Freemasons being created, and the Reformation. The Freemasons were actually involved in the Reformation when the Reformation began in Scotland, which is critical because that's when government started to be formed, and it's when the currency producer was formed not long after in, well, a little while after actually, but 1711 by portals, according to the research. It is very much a real question. What is the Earth to you? To me? Oh, you're asking somebody else. To me, look, it appears to me from the information I've got that the Earth is round, but I could be wrong on that. And I'm not going to get too tied up on that side of things, because at the moment, I don't think that's the most important thing to me on this. What I do believe 100%, because of the evidence I've got, is that what they've been telling us about the space is not true. I don't believe they've even been on the moon. So therefore, we've got to consider at least that what they've been telling us about Earth is also not true. So that supports potentially that people that say that the Earth is flat, etc. But I'm not so sure, because it also could have been set up as a trap for people to fall into, to then be discredited through it. Because, you look at the moon, it's round. I'm sure, or I think I've seen a slight curvature in the Earth, not through an aeroplane window though. I've been up on a lot of very high mountains, and I think, anyway, I don't want to go into that too much at the moment. Lemurs wants to delete the shape of the Earth. Lemurs wants to debate the shape of the Earth. I'm too scared. I've already annoyed tonight. Sorry, Carlo. I didn't mean to make you feel like that. Thank you, Gary. I understand, but it's very difficult to get others to understand. Yeah, I know. Christ consciousness doesn't need to be written down necessarily. More word of mouth. Yes, I agree. The first cry, and I think a lot of it is intuition, a lot of it is moral conscience, and I can't emphasize how important it is, the moral conscience element of this, in my mind anyway, and the fact that the irrationality has removed the moral conscience through that irrationality, and they've created the irrationality within humanity. They're actually very irrational, I believe. I don't think they're thinking clearly, possibly because of, like I've said, the international drug trafficking trade that they're linked into and everything else. Someone's put, the Earth is more or less round. This is proven in various ways. The horizon went on the ocean, the position of the pits on the moon, depending on what hemisphere you are in, etc., etc. Word of mouth, it was written by the king. Duke of Kent. Yes, thank you, Justine. Yeah, it was Duke of Kent. So you have family members that are solicitors. Oh, that's the Carla. I think someone's thinking Carla is compromised. Can you elaborate? Horizon. Freemasons go much higher than Master Mason and are honorary degree beyond third degree Master. Apparently there's like loads more degrees, isn't there, than 33. I don't know how true that is, but as I say, I've never had anything to do with the Freemasons, other than I've met some people that are connected to them, and I've actually met a Freemason during my investigations. Christ's words were passed down through people, art, music, in order to protect them. The evidence suggests that to be honest with you, this does make more sense to me in all of this, that there was a bloodline from Jesus that was protected through the ages. That makes a lot of sense to me with all of the evidence that I'm finding. You can see the curve of the Earth when on a ship looking into the horizon. Other than that, you can see pictures of the moon taken from different hemispheres, and this puts the moon, and the pics of the moon will be inverted. Gary, have you got any film of any arrests? No, so far nobody has actually done any arrests. This is what I'm trying to get people to do. No sound, Gary. Check your mic. Should be all right now. Templars are in charge of masonry. The Knights Templars. Yeah, I know that the Freemasons stemmed from the Knights Templars. It's very likely, guys, you've got people within there that are trying to stop the system, that are supporting and helping me because they realise what they've been part of or whatever. And then you've got the other people that are obviously potentially don't want to give up the system. This is the whole thing, you see, because if they give up this system, it gets lost forever. Okay, because it means a new system will expose them, you see, and it will expose a lot of people, and it will never be a problem again. This is the difficulty they've got. So even if they really want to stop the blood of the children, the crimes against the children, they can't do that unless they expose the system, because the system facilitates the laundering of the money in relation to the children. So they have to give up the system, which in itself will expose them. And this is why I keep saying, I suspect they have to become the sacrifice through the truth, which is almost an inversion of what happened with Jesus Christ on the cross. He was one person sacrificing himself supposedly, but I now think this is a deception. And it's so interesting how it's sort of everything's been inverted round with the double crossing and the cross of the, as I've said, the blood of the Christ, with the cross of linked into the Knights Templar. But I think what has to happen is they have to become the sacrifice through the truth. But you need to compel the truth through the strategy. Now, if they're not going to say the truth and you're not going to compel the truth, then probably the only right thing that's going to happen is a judgment upon all of man. And I think if either of you aren't going to budge on this, then I think the only right thing is humanity has to be removed, because otherwise all of creation is going to suffer, and we're going to lead into a transhumanistic future, which means all of you or your future generations are probably going to be trapped in a conscience which they can't control and actually want to die but can't. Now that's going to be far worse than removing all of humanity. Now, I don't think that's meant to happen. I don't want that to happen. I don't think that's meant to happen. However, if there's a choice now between nobody doing anything and thus leading into the end of creation and humanity suffering beyond all imaginable means, or humanity is removed and all of creation survives, the rest of creation, then I would go with even if that means me being removed. You know, unfortunately, that's the situation we're now in. This is why I'm trying to get everybody to do something and follow the strategy. Hopefully you can hear me. Oh, that's interesting. So they've stopped you XX hearing me. Hopefully everyone else can hear me. I haven't got my finger on. I've checked everything's clear, and I haven't got the mic off. I've got the 2K document. Okay, Big Smoke, you've got the document. Okay, that's good. Sorry, I'm struggling to remember who's who from their usernames, because when I'm speaking to people on privately, they're different, and nobody seems to be using their name. I seem to be the only. Well, I'm Vanessa. There'll be a lot of others, but I'm noticing that a lot of people trying to speak truth aren't using their real names. They're not showing their face. Now that's very concerning for me. That's very concerning. You know, why wouldn't you, if you were genuinely trying to be focused on truth, why wouldn't you be using your real name? Why wouldn't you be showing your face in this if you were genuine? And I'm not criticizing anyone specifically for that, but it does have to be questioned. Someone said, Joe put, I'm saying I believe in Christ, but unfortunately the Bible is compromised. 100%. Christ was just tyranny? Trying to spread the love. King James Version. I've done a bit of research around King James. The timing of that, is very relevant. That ties in with the Freemasons. I think he was a big part of the Freemasons as well, from what I've seen, I think. And and the formation of the Reformation, and which means the Bible as well. Spreading the love is what they have been trying to shut down. Yeah, it was. If you go and research Gutenberg's, it was a German company. That was the printing organization that, according to what they've told us, so again, we have to be very cautious on this, that company was involved in printing the first Bible. Oh, please don't apologize, Carla. Please don't apologize, Carla. I possibly misunderstood, and I'm sorry. It's very, very relevant. It's the cell towers are connected to CERN. The cell towers were erected in Wuhan in August. That's in August 2019. That's going by what they've told us. Okay, there's an article from, when did it come out? I can't remember. And this actually links to ICNIRP as well, which links to Mishcon de Reya. That's how I found out about the connection to Mishcon and ICNIRP. So if you search cell towers erected in Wuhan, ICNIRP, and then put 2019. It might bring it up. It's in my document anyway. And that confirmed that the cell towers were erected in August, which is the same month that Jeffrey Epstein died, supposedly died. And it was the month prior to that there was a protest in Wuhan surrounding an incinerator plant that was planning to be built. So this is on an article. You know, I know the incinerator plant evidence is critical in all of this. I've done some research around the incinerators. We know they're part of the criminal network. We know they're linking in with the blood of the children. They connect in with the collider technology, with the collider and the cell tower technology. So that was the same month that Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly arrested. Cell towers went up in August. All right, this article confirmed it, which was from a later time. I can't remember who it was. In that article, it mentioned it was trying to downplay the threat of the cell towers that went up in Wuhan. So there must have been a bit of a hoo-ha going on about the cell towers having potentially caused the COVID outbreak. So they then produced this news article that had ICNIRP in it, and they were quoting ICNIRP, who is an organization, that's the acronym for it, non-ionizing radiation or something. And they were trying to claim that the cell towers were not a threat, it was not a risk, and it was nothing to do with COVID. However, when you research ICNIRP, it links to Mishcon de Reya, okay, which means it links to Exmoor Manor, which means it links to the Vatican, which means it links to the cell towers and the blood of the children, all ties in to that article and to Sweeney Todd that we've just mentioned earlier, because Mishcon de Reya links to the Sweeney Todd group and Field Fisher, like I told you, who has the contract for the BBC, who was linked into Jimmy Savile, and is linked into the death of Jill Dando. So this article became critical, which I then secured to confirm that ICNIRP and therefore Mishcon de Reya were trying to downplay the threat of the cell towers going up. Now, we know they're linked to the vaccines, all right? You've got AstraZeneca UK Limited, was incorporated with the same companies as Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, that links to immediately to, what's his name? Andrew Bridgen, who is the person coming out trying to say that the vaccines were harmful, etc. Anyway, there's a lot more to it. There's loads more evidence in relation to cell towers. It's all in the document. It's definitely a huge part of this. I'm all for spreading love and being in touch with my soul, but ancient scripture doesn't put a good picture on Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it's possible they've manipulated it deliberately. You've got to look at Christianity and what they've done to Christianity. What a mockery of Jesus, I believe that now is. Drinking the blood of and eating the body of Jesus. Why would you, if you looked up to something, all right, such as they claim to, why would you then eat it? It's the ultimate mockery. I think that was deliberately done as a mockery. You know, that's within the Holy Communion, drinking the blood of Christ and eating the bread representing the body of Christ. I just think that was a deliberate mockery. Probably to fit a deception for someone to find it, to show that actually the crucifixion wasn't real, and we were double crossed. They were teaching kids this in the 1940s until they banned it. That's interesting. Yes, Christ consciousness means we are all born with a free gift of the light of Christ. Sanandar, someone's put. I haven't heard of that. Be the change you want to see, someone's put. Embody it. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Free will and moral conscience. Free will is so very, very important in all of this. And it's important in deciding a faith and choosing a faith as well. Because I think many people choose, as I've said a few times over the last few nights, they choose, if they can't explain something, they choose to say it's not the creator. It's not, I'm not going to say God because I don't agree with that word anymore. They choose to say it's not the creator, and they try and explain it away in another method, even though science claims not to have had the answer to it. Well, you're choosing to separate yourself from the creator through separating that belief. And ultimately, if you continue to do that, I think, you ultimately choose potentially eternal damnation through that separation of the creator. Gary, I can see why you are stressed, like myself, having to explain everything all the time. It is exhausting. Yes, it is, Carla. Very tiring, but yeah, it is, you're right. Most certainly compromised, Carla. Take back picture of the moon. Most certainly compromised, Carla. Picture of the moon. Gary, thoughts on Dubai Ports World, the importer exports? I don't know about them, I'm afraid. Dubai Ports World. I don't know about that, I'm afraid. Sorry, I don't know about that. I've screenshot it, though, so I can maybe research it if I have time. Then travel to the southern hemisphere and take another picture. Compare them, and you'll realise the Earth is more or less round, someone's put. Intuition is very important at this time. Oh, 100%. Discernment that's been one of the biggest things with me, is what's truth, what's not, who's compromised, who's not, who's been sent to me as to distract me, who's not. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Well, when someone who believes something that has been proven false is trying to convince people of their ideals. This is why the Company's House records are so important in all of this. For whatever reason, and we've got to remember, this links into the Catholic Church again, so this could have been done deliberately, because in 1992, which is the same year that the Catholic Church became a legal entity, is when they started to create the electronic Company's House register, okay, which was how I was able to identify the forgery through the discrepancy of the documents attached to that electronic register and the electronic register. We have to consider that may have been timed deliberately, potentially because of who I am, and they knew that I would somehow eventually identify that discrepancy. Now, for whatever reason, they have left through that discrepancy a trail of evidence by cross verification, okay, and making a document of the forgery and the connections into all of it, and then the cross-referencing. They have enabled somebody to be able to expose the entire world's criminal system. Now, they could have forged the documents better. They could have forged the register better. This appears to have been done deliberately. All right, some of it is so blatantly, obviously forged. It's just laughable. It's laughable, some of it. So ask yourself why that would have been done deliberately. That's a big question, isn't it? Why time it with the Catholic Church? And why time it and link it to the Ingenious Film Partners, which links to me? And why is everyone around me linked to David Icke, Elon Musk, Jimmy Savile, the main Freemasons lodge? All right, this is people before I even knew about the fraud. This is going back in my life. This is going back when I was born. You've got to ask yourself, why does the evidence say that the Albert Pike letter was removed the year I was born? Why was Star Wars A New Hope movie was released? Why did the Apple logo change its symbol twice in the year I was born? Why did the Stargate project begin in the year I was born, which is remote viewing? There's several other things all tying in this. Why does, when you go from what's his name, Sasha Stone, he links to Jedi Management Limited, that links to Exbourne Manor, where the building was that my investigation took place? Why did they stage my introduction to my wife and stage my introduction to Exbourne Manor, knowing it was connected to Jimmy Savile? Why did they do it? It's not to undermine me. I didn't know at the time. Why is Jimmy Savile's building linked to JFK family? The JFK family immediately. Why is Jimmy Savile's building linked to my mum's employer, 3.5 hours away in Kent, who's linked to Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult? All three of my families are linked to Julian Assange. Julian Assange, the Doomsday Cult, with the family in Australia, and on the article for them, it has about properties in Kent. In England, I presume. It says Kent properties. Why on there it mentions babies being swapped around at birth, as if they wanted me to find that I may have been swapped around at birth, linking to my family. There's loads of evidence. It's just so much evidence. It's just unreal. It just really is. Yeshua had no bloodline on earth. That's why you have to be born again in the... Well, you've got to ask yourself, why is there so much evidence that the Knights Templar had a bloodline through of Christ? There's loads of evidence suggesting that. Now, whether they somehow... that was a deception and it was actually to lead to somebody triggering Christ's conscience, I don't know. But there's a lot of linking in with the blood in all of this. Freemason told Mazzini there would be a World War III. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 3 World War deception. Templars are family of Pharaoh. All Masons give oaths to the Templars. There's got to be hidden... There's got to be a group hidden within the Knights Templar then, which is what the information is suggesting. You know, the Knights Templar, well, the Freemasons, shall we say, massively implicated in this criminal network, which goes against the Creator. So if they're trying to protect Christ's conscience through that Christ bloodline, then they're going against Christ. So you must have like a group, hidden sector within the Knights Templar, within the Freemasons, that are hiding that are good people. And that might be trying to support me through this and know who I am. Tenant Testament, test a mind. Hi Jane, hope you're okay. Just in your comment. Nutters that think the earth is flat when you... I don't think you should call them nutters. You know, at the end of the day, they're entitled to an opinion. It could be they're part of, you know, I'm not saying this is the case, but it's possible they're part of the deception to see who's going to fall into that deceptive trap. It's possible that we're wrong and that the earth is flat, but the evidence to me and the information suggests not at this moment in time. But I may change my opinion based on, you know, if I find some other evidence. Pharaoh nose on Gary. Yes, I have got a rather large nose. I know, I'm aware of that. But we don't need people that are just going to be saying things like that. Yeshua is already here. He leaves the 99. He leaves the 99 because they've already been found. Durosh Hakwadash is here for the lost sheep. Jesus got arrested for being caught doing dodgy stuff with a child in Mark. Yet don't forget the Bible could have been completely infiltrated deliberately. Don't forget Gutenberg's, which actually Gutenberg links with Germany. Germany links with the Church of Satan, okay, which is an organization that appears to have almost not dismissed. I'll say dismissed the 3 Abrahamic faiths. It seems because of the moral conscience element in those 3 Abrahamic faiths. Well, that suggests if you're trying to dismiss and disregard moral conscience, well, that's exactly what we're seeing now. All right, that's exactly what we're seeing now. No moral conscience within the system. Lima's looking at the moon doesn't prove the globe theory. Unfortunately, someone's put. My name is Christy. Thanks, Christy. I use my real name. Brilliant. Well done, Justine. Well done. Well done, Jacqueline. Carla is, yeah. In my honest opinion, yes, it does. Look it up. Do it yourself if you care to. I'm a photographer. Oh, you're still talking about the flat earth side of things. I'm going to call it a night now. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm sorry anyone that I've offended. I'm going to be offending some people in this, let's face it. There's probably a lot of people that don't even want me alive here. What I would say is I'm trying to save all of you, even those of you that are involved in all of this. I'm honestly trying to save all of you based on all of my evidence. It looks as though you're all at risk. So, you know, take that how you want it. That's the way it is. I actually pray for everybody, even those that are involved in this, even those that are involved in the crimes against the children. I pray that they come forward in truth, in repentance, and a commitment to change. And I believe that they can actually be saved spiritually, but probably not from the consequences they'll face here on earth. But if they can be saved spiritually, that's far more important, I believe, than an eternal world or eternal life afterwards of damnation or whatever you want to call it. $6G and $7G, yeah, mentioning the new technologies coming in. Username is being incredibly rude. I might have missed that. I'm going to go now anyway. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I do urge you all, please follow the strategy. And I'm just going to quickly mention, I'm very, very concerned about these facial recognition cameras going up. I actually believe it could be the start of the end, leading into all of this if you don't start resolving this soon. So please, everybody, follow the strategy. I'm going to be focusing on, again, I know I keep saying it, but of course this information is coming in all the time. I'm going to be trying to get the document done and sent out to as many people as I can. Please email me if you haven't already on GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. That's GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. Or you can email me on GaryTimeForFreedom@proton.me. That's Gary Time for Freedom@proton.me. Everyone needs this document. You need to send it to as many people as you can. It really is the most important document on earth. Even with all of my typos and spelling mistakes on there, the evidence is absolutely critical to all of humanity, even these people involved in all of this. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.